couple aged 67 went to the doctor's office. The doctor asked, "What can I do for you?" The man said, "Will you watch us have sexual intercourse?" The doctor looked puzzled but agreed. When the couple had finished, the doctor said, "There isn't anything wrong with the way you have intercourse," and he charged the couple $32.00. This happened several weeks in a row. The couple would make an appointment, have intercourse, pay the doctor, and leave. Finally, the doctor asked, "Just exactly what are you trying to find out?" The old man said, "We're not trying to find out anything. She's married, so we can't go to her house. I'm married, so we can't go to my house. The Holiday Inn charges $60. The Hilton charges is $78, and we can do it here for $32, and I get back $28 for Medicare for a visit to the doctor's office." Two nuns are driving down a dark, winding road in rural Romania. When they turn a corner to see a vampire hovering over what appears to be a body in the middle of the road. It looks up and hisses as the headlights illuminate blood-covered fangs. Sister Mary looks at Sister Elizabeth and says, "What should I do?" Sister Elizabeth answers, "Show him your cross." So Sister Mary leans out of the window and yells, "Get the f*** out of the road, you pointy-toothed bastard, or I'll run your ass over." Then she leans back into the vehicle and says, "I hope that was cross enough." A bus full of ugly folks from a small Midwest town crashes into a truck, and sadly, everyone on board passes away. When they arrive at the pearly gates, they meet God, who feels sorry for what they've been through and offers each of them one wish before entering heaven. They line up, and God asks the first person what they'd like. "I want to be beautiful," she says. God snaps his fingers, and just like that, she's stunning. The next person sees this and says, "I want to be beautiful too." Another snap, and it's done. This keeps going down the line, each person asking for the same thing. But all the way at the back, the last guy in line starts chuckling. As the line moves forward, his chuckle turns into full-on laughter. With 10 people left, he's bent over, howling. Finally, it's his turn. God looks at him and asks, "What's your wish?" The man wipes away tears of laughter and says, "Make them all ugly again." There are these two friends, a white guy and a black guy. One evening, they're in a bar arguing over which of them can have sex the most times in one night. They decide to settle the issue by going to the local whorehouse and gathering experimental evidence, as it were. So they get to the whorehouse, pair off with a couple of the ladies, and go to their respective rooms. The white guy energetically starts with his whore and, reaching up with a pencil, makes a mark on the wall. Then he falls asleep. He wakes up in a couple of hours and does it again, although a little less enthusiastically this time. Again, he reaches back and marks on the wall. Again, he falls asleep. He wakes up again in a couple of hours and almost did it again. He drowsily marks another on the wall and falls asleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, the black guy barges into the white guy's room to see how he did. He takes one look at the wall and exclaims, 111. You beat me by 3. A blonde was visiting Washington, D.C. for the first time. She wanted to see the Capitol building. Unfortunately, she couldn't find it, so she asked a police officer for directions. "Excuse me, officer, how do I get to the Capitol building?" The officer replied, "Wait here at this bus stop for the number 54 bus. It'll take you right there." She thanked the officer, and he drives off. 3 hours later, the police officer returned to the same area, and sure enough, the blonde is still waiting at the same bus stop. The officer got out of his car and said, "Excuse me, but to get to the Capitol building, I said to wait here for the number 54 bus. That was 3 hours ago. Why are you still waiting?" The blonde replied, "Don't worry, officer. It won't be long now. The 45th bus just went by." So, this guy is a pet parrot, right? One day, the parrot gets a little too romantic and sneaks a quick, passionate kiss from the female parrot. The owner catches him red-handed and absolutely loses it. "Oh, look at Romeo over here. Act your age." As a punishment, the owner grabs his shoe and beats the living daylights out of the parrot until the poor bird's head is completely bald. Just a shiny, featherless cue ball. After that, the parrot goes into deep depression. No whistling, no talking, just sitting in his cage questioning life. A few days later, the owner hosts a massive Sunday church choir gathering at his house. The place is packed, the priest is coming, and the owner decides to put the parrot to work. He parks him right at the front door as the official usher. He tells the bird, "Listen, your job is simple. Just greet every single Christian soul who walks through that door." The parrot takes his job super seriously. Every time someone enters, he's like, "Welcome, brother. God bless you, sister. Please come in." After a while, the owner looks outside and notices a bunch of guys are still standing awkwardly in the driveway, not being allowed in. And funnily enough, every single one of them is completely bald. The owner storms over to the parrot and whispers angrily, "Hey, why the hell are you keeping them waiting outside? Let them into the service." The parrot glares at the bald guys, turns to the owner with pure attitude, and says, "Oh, hell no. You think you can go around kissing girls, get busted, and then act all holy at a church service? Nice try, boys. Not on my watch." A man and his wife are dining at a table in a plush restaurant, and the husband keeps staring at a drunken lady swigging her drink as she sits alone at a nearby table. The wife asks, "Do you know her?" "Yes," sighs the husband. "She's my ex-girlfriend. I understand she took to drinking right after we split up 7 years ago, and I hear she hasn't been sober since." "My God," says the wife. "Who would think a person could go on celebrating that long?" A woman goes to her doctor for her annual checkup. The nurse starts with certain basic items. "How much do you weigh?" she asks. 8.5 stone, the woman says. The nurse puts her on the scales and tells her weight is actually 10 stone. The nurse asks, "Your height?" 5'8", she says. The nurse checks and says that she only measures 5'2". She then takes her blood pressure and tells the woman that it is very high. "Of course it's high," the woman screams. "When I came in here, I was tall and slender. Now I'm short and fat." For men, we're in the hospital, walking up and down the corridor in anticipation of being delivered the news of their babies being born. After some time, a nurse comes out and approaches one of the dads. "Congratulations. It's twins," she says with a smile on her face. The dad is a bit shocked at first, but he then chuckles and says, "That's quite a coincidence. I work for the Minnesota Twins." When she approaches the second father, she exclaims, "Triplets," with excitement. The dad is overjoyed by the news, but rather puzzled because of the coincidence. "Incredible," he says. "I've always been a fan of threes. I work for 3M, you know." The third father is told that his wife has given birth to 4 babies. Jumping from the chair, he yells, "No way. I've always wanted a big family. I work at the Four Seasons Hotel." Unlike the rest of the dads, the fourth man is not caught up in the joy. He's nervously pacing and tugging at his hair. Seeing him feel anxious, the nurse asks, "Is everything okay?" To what the fourth man replies, "I'm doomed. I work for 7-Up." Little Johnny is taking a shower with his mother and says, "Mom, what are those things on your chest?" Unsure of how to reply, she tells Johnny to ask his dad at breakfast tomorrow, quite certain the matter will be forgotten. Johnny didn't forget. The following morning, he asked his father the same question. His father, always quick with the answer, says, "Why, Johnny, those are balloons. When your mommy dies, we can blow them up, and she'll float to heaven." Johnny thinks that's neat and asks no more questions. A few weeks later, Johnny's dad comes home from work a few hours early. Johnny runs out of the house, crying hysterically, "Daddy, Daddy, Mommy's dying." His father says, "Calm down, son. Why do you think Mommy's dying?" Uncle Harry is blowing up Mommy's balloons, and she's screaming, "Oh God, I'm coming." A grandmother was pushing her little grandchild around Walmart in a buggy. Each time she put something in the basket, she would say, "And here's something for you, diploma," or "This will make a cute little outfit for you, diploma," and so on. Eventually, a bewildered shopper who'd heard all this finally asked, "Why do you keep calling your grandchild diploma?" The grandmother replied, "I sent my daughter to the University of Maryland, and this is what she came home with." A blonde who wanted to earn money decided to work as a handyman type and started canvassing a wealthy neighborhood. She went to the front door of the first house and asked the owner if he had any odd jobs for her to do. "Well, I guess I could use somebody to paint the porch," he said. "How much will you charge me?" Delighted, the girl quickly responded, "How about $50?" The man agreed and told her that the paint, brushes, and everything she would need were in the garage. The man's wife, hearing the conversation, said to her husband, "Does she realize that our porch goes all the way around the house?" "That's a bit cynical, isn't it?" he responded. The wife replied, "You're right. I guess I'm starting to believe all of those dumb blonde jokes." A few hours later, the blonde came to the door to collect her money. "You're finished already?" the startled husband asked. "Yes," the blonde replied. "And I even had paint left over, so I gave it 2 coats." Impressed, the man reached into his pocket for the $50 and handed it to her along with a $10 tip. "Thank you," the blonde said. "And by the way, that's not a Porsche, it's an Audi." A blonde walks into a pharmacy and asks the assistant for some rectum deodorant. The pharmacist, a little bemused, explains to the woman that they don't sell rectum deodorant and never have. Unfazed, the blonde assures the pharmacist that she has been buying the stuff from this store on a regular basis and would like some more. "I'm sorry," says the pharmacist. "We don't have any." "But I always buy it here," says the blonde. "Do you have the container that it came in?" asks the pharmacist. "Yes," said the blonde. "I'll go home and get it." She returns with the container and hands it to the pharmacist, who looks at it and says to her, "This is just a normal stick of underarm deodorant." Annoyed, the blonde snatches the container back and reads out loud from the container. "To apply, push up bottom." A little girl was riding her brand new bicycle through town the day after Christmas when a police officer on horseback stopped her. The officer looked over the bike and said, "Did Santa bring you that bicycle?" "Yes, sir," the little girl replied proudly. "Well," said the cop, "next year, tell Santa to put a reflector light on it." Then he handed her a $5 ticket. The little girl looked up at the officer's horse and smiled. "That's a nice horse. Did Santa bring you that too?" The officer laughed. "He sure did." The little girl nodded and said, "Well, next year, tell Santa that the dick goes under the horse, not on top of it." There once was a blind old man who decided to visit Texas. When he arrived on the plane, he felt the seats and said, "Wow, these seats are big." "Everything is big in Texas," the person next to him answered. When he finally arrived in Texas, he decided to visit a bar. Upon arriving at the bar, he ordered a beer and got a mug placed between his hands. He exclaimed, "Wow, these mugs are big." "Everything is big in Texas," the bartender replied. After a couple of beers, the blind old man asked the bartender where the bathroom was located. The bartender replied, "Second door to the right." The old man headed for the bathroom, but accidentally tripped over a bucket and skipped the second door. Instead, he entered the third door, which leads to the swimming pool, and fell into the pool by accident. Scared to death, the blind old man started shouting, "Don't flush, don't flush." One morning when I was going out of the house, I met my neighbor's daughter, who was pregnant. When I returned home, I saw her father closing the door. I told him, "Your daughter hasn't married yet. I wonder how it is possible for a girl without any husband to be pregnant." For a moment, her father, with a bitter smile, said, "She isn't pregnant. It is all wind in her belly. She farts and will recover. Next year, perchance, I will see the same girl with a baby in her arms." The next day, when I was going out facing her father, I told him, "I saw your daughter with her fart in her arms." A radical feminist is getting on a bus when, just in front of her, a man gets up from his seat. She thinks to herself, "Here's another man trying to keep up the customs of a patriarchal society by offering a poor, defenseless woman his seat," and she pushes him back onto the seat. A minute later, the man tries to get up again. She is insulted again and refuses to let him up. This goes on a couple more times over the next few minutes. Finally, the man says, "Look, lady, you got to let me get up. I'm a half-mile past my stop already." Little Johnny brought home his history test result. It was 90. His father was so happy with it. However, his mother, Karen, just couldn't believe her son got 90 in history. After taking a closer look at the marks, she found that the handwriting styles of the 9 and the 0 were different. Johnny, you are so busted. Tell me, did you add the 0 to your marks? No, Mom, I didn't. I am asking you once more. Did you add that fucking 0 to your marks? Mom, no, I didn't add that 0. Okay, as you're not telling the truth, you're grounded for 1 month. Mom, no, please, no, I really didn't add that 0. This is your last chance, kid. Tell me the truth. I just added the 9 to it. Moral lesson. After God, fear wife. An elderly gentleman was telling his friend about a new restaurant he and his wife recently visited. The food and service were great, he said. His friend asked, "What's the name of the place?" "Gee, I don't remember," he said, thinking. Then he asked his friend, "What do you call the long-stem flower people give on special occasions?" "You mean a rose?" asked his friend. "That's it," he exclaimed, and, turning to his wife, asked, "Rose, what's the name of that restaurant we went to the other day?" I had a phone call today from a very polite young chap who said he was calling from Microsoft. "Hello, sir. How are you doing today?" "I'm very well, thank you." "And how are you? More importantly, who are you?" "Sir, my name is Gupta, and I'm calling from Microsoft." "Microsoft, eh? Is it a city out there somewhere? How's the weather today? Hot? Or is it monsoon season? I've seen those National Geographic documentaries. That's some serious rain." "No, sir. I am calling from Microsoft, the computer company, Mr. Bill Gates' company. We have found a serious problem with your computer." "Really? My computer? Well, that's very worrying." "Yes, sir. It could become catastrophic for your files, your passwords, even your internet banking. But don't worry. I can fix it for you." "No," I interrupted. "It's worrying because I don't actually have a computer." Dead silence. "You don't, sir?" "I don't, Gupta. No computer." "Ah, then it must be your laptop." "Gupta." "Yes, sir. I don't have one." "An iPad?" "Nope." "A tablet?" "Nope." "None of those." Another long pause. "As a matter of fact, Gupta, I don't even have a telephone." A few seconds of tense silence on the line. Then Gupta snaps. "Ah, sir, now you are lying to me." I smiled and said, "Well, you started it." And I hung up. Little Timmy attended a horse auction with his father. He watched as his dad moved from horse to horse, running his hands up and down the horse's legs, slapping their rumps, and putting his hands on their chests. After a while, Timmy asked, "Dad, why are you doing that?" His dad replied, "When I'm buying horses, I have to make sure they're healthy and in good shape before I buy." Timmy, looking worried, said, "Dad, I think the UPS guy wants to buy Mom." At birth, success is being alive. At age 3, success is not pooping your pants. At age 10, success is having friends. At age 16, success is having a driver's license. At age 20, success is having sex. At age 30, success is having money. At age 40, success is having money. At age 55, success is having sex. At age 70, success is having a driver's license. At age 75, success is having friends. At age 80, success is not pooping your pants. At age 100, success is being alive. A couple gets pulled over on their way home. The police officer asks for a license and registration. The husband apologizes. "I'm sorry, officer. I can't seem to find my wallet." His wife immediately speaks up. "Who are you kidding? Your license expired 2 weeks ago. I told you you have to renew it." The husband looks angrily at his wife. "Shut up. I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing." The officer is a little baffled, but continues. "Actually, I pulled you over for speeding." "I was going 50, said the husband. "You were going 80, said the wife. "I told you were driving too fast." The husband looks at his wife in disdain. "I thought I told you to shut up." Again, the officer is uneasy, but also asks about the broken taillight he noticed. "What broken taillight?" asks the husband innocently. "The one I told you about last month, but you were too cheap to spend $100 to fix it," retorts his wife. "You fucking cunt. Will you ever shut up?" asks the husband in anger. At this point, the officer couldn't hold it anymore. "Sir, Is this how you always speak to your wife? Before the man can answer, his wife quickly responds, only when he's drunk. A lawyer runs a stop sign and gets pulled over by a policeman. The cop says, license and registration, please. The lawyer says, what for? The cop says, we didn't come to a complete stop at the stop sign. The lawyer says, I slowed down and no one was coming. The cop says, you still didn't come to a complete stop. License and registration, please. The lawyer says, what's the difference? The cop says, the difference is you have to come to a complete stop. License and registration, please. The lawyer says, if you can show me the difference between slow down and stop, I'll give you my license and registration. The cop says, exit your vehicle, sir. At this point, the cop takes out his nightstick and starts beating the ever-loving shit out of the lawyer and says, do you want me to stop or just slow down? During one of her daily classes, a teacher trying to teach good manners asked her students the following question. Michael, if you were on a date having dinner with a nice young lady, how would you tell her that you have to go to the bathroom? Michael said, just a minute, I have to go pee. The teacher responded by saying, that would be rude and impolite. What about you, Sherman? How would you say it? Sherman said, I am sorry, but I really need to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. That's better, but it's still not very nice to say the word bathroom at the dinner table. And you, little Johnny, can you use your brain for once and show us your good manners? Johnny said, I would say, darling, may I please be excused for a moment? I have to shake hands with a very dear friend of mine, whom I hope to introduce to you after dinner. The teacher fainted.